They rent a house here in the village, 26 Church Street. She said that there was a leak in the water, and so her bill is 3 times the normal amount. So just wondering what the board wanted to do to address that.
Jim, can you address that?
I can't address it as to what we can do, but I can look into it with Roxanne and find out if it was our issue or her issue or how we can, rectify it. First I've heard of it. 26 Church Street?
26 Church. It was their issue. Pipe broke downstairs.
Okay.
But obviously, because the water was flowing out, being charged sewer and water rates. I know we've done this before for other residents, so maybe going back down to the highest.
Yeah, if I can figure out the date and calculate what was, leaking and wasn't going through, I can try to prorate it, figure it out with help from Roxanne. We've done that for the swimming pools and different things like that.
Has John Curfew been called in on that at all?
No,
he has.
This is.
No, well, what happened was she called, she knew she had a water leak. So our guys went over, and as soon as she reported that she had the leak, our guys went over and read the meter.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a huge leak.
Was it turned off? Was it rectified?
No, they had it fixed, yeah.
Okay, so it's rectified.
It's okay now.
And you knew nothing?
No, I didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
I can look into it and figure out what the cost is to reimburse her or adjust her bill.
From when it started?
Yeah, we'll go back and find out how much we'll calculate.
I told her that she would have to address the board if she, if they wanted to have credit.
She brought all the paperwork in from the plumber that fixed the pipe too, what his estimate is. So all the paperwork's here for us to review. So
okay.
she brought it into my office.
Once you get everything resolved, then we can address it, so that we know what it is and how much it is. And
so you want to just
yeah, give it to Jim, though. Give it to Jim. He's the one who should be investigating these things.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else, Ryan?
Nope, I'm awesome.
We still got a problem up on, after the construction work on State Mechanic, and Jim, you went up with the, Barber on that from the contracting company. It's an issue about a short section of curbing that they claim wasn't there, and they didn't dig it out, but yet the homeowner never had the water coming across the lawn and the driveway like they do now, and the curbing is definitely gone there for a short period of space, and when it comes down and it ends there, instead of going in the new catch basin, it bypasses and goes over into the yard and across the driveway. So I told Jim about it. Jim went up there with Barber the other day, but I don't know, they don't seem to think that it's their problem. They said they didn't take that curbing out, but to me it looks like it was part of, it matches up with where their blacktop ends, where they patch. But maybe Jim can tell more because he was up there with Barber.
Is it on their property?
It's in the street.
It's in the street.
Yeah, Barber's saying that they followed the direction by our engineer to show me that they logged for the work that they did, and they said they put back the amount of curbing that they took out to they said they took out only 1 inch of curbing, which I've never seen 1 inch of curbing anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. So they're not willing to assume any responsibility because they were under the direct instruction of the engineer on a day-to-day basis during the construction. But the problem's not going to go away, and it does look like some of the curbing to the left of the driveway has been taken out. Their comment to me was, well, maybe your DPW can put some asphalt in there and direct the water, divert the water. One plow season, that's going to be gone, so that's not even an option.
The curbing that's missing from her driveway up, and it just happens to end right where their blacktop patch ends, that they dug out to put the, to hook into the pipes and put the new, catch basin in. And I showed them that when I was up there with them before they left the job, and they said that they didn't take that curbing out. Well, it matches up with what the work was done. And then as soon as that water comes down from, up toward, Pine Street, the minute it gets to that curbing, it diverts right away from the new catch basin and goes right across the lawn.
So no one professionally has been caught?
Just the contractor at this point, not.
Who's the contractor?
Barber Corporation.
And he was going by our engineer, that was on the job up there. And, the prior engineering firm. And he said that he was doing his job and he was following the instructions up there.
Did you say a half a curve? The beginning? What's a half a curve?
Yeah, they said that they put their curbing back in that they replaced, or that they took out. And the only curbing that's there is in the beginning part of our entrance to a driveway. And it's only about an inch tall.
Yeah.
The curbing that is supposedly missing was a standard sized curb to the left of the driveway, which would divert the water, and now it's gone.
I think when you get calls like this, you should call somebody in instead of leaving it up to whatever, you know? Because there seems to be a lot of skepticism in these things, like a half a curve, this, and how do we know?
We met with them because, I mean, they're the ones that did the job, and they're the ones that, you know, for the next 12 months, or for the 12-month period, they're responsible for anything, and we brought it to their attention while they were still here on the job, and then we've brought it, twice? At least twice we've brought it to their attention since then, that there's still an ongoing problem.
Do they think we should be doing it?
They recommended once that the DPW could put blacktop up there and kind of round it so that, to divert the water. But I don't think it's our responsibility.
No.
They got paid to put that job, to do that job, and it just looks like it lines, I mean, the curbing that's gone, it lines up with that patch, so I don't know.
Yeah, Jim, can you let us know that we're unhappy with that?
Yeah,
That's not a viable source, you know?
They've come back and done some work that we weren't satisfied with, no charge, they've been pretty good. This one here, they're saying they won't assume any responsibility, but I'll go back and, not what they're saying, but I'll go back and have to get Steve involved, it's just, something needs to be done, but I can definitely call them and get back at the job site and meet with somebody and bring it to Steve's attention.
I mean, we're willing to do what we need to do, but sometimes all the parameters are there, you know? Kind of weird how they go about these things, so. I've just never heard of a half a curve. Why not do a whole curve if you're gonna do it right?
Right.
So there's one more thing that's an eyesore, you know?
The only other thing I got is, I think we're gonna have to put something back out into the papers again or somewhere, on the paper bags for the leaves.
Yes.
Because I'm getting people asking me, about where did this come from, when did we pass it? I talked to Roxanne there earlier, and she said that it was put out, but, there's people that are, saying that they never saw it, and they're getting the tags on the bags right now.
And that's what's happening.
Right, and so now it's being brought to their attention because the tags are being
I know.
put on the plastic bags.
And you have to start somewhere, you know?
So, I think we ought to,
Maybe we could just put another blurb in the paper about it.
either that or throw something, I don't know if it would work if you throw a little insert into the water bill.
We could do
Use
just a
cards.
companion thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get rid of that because we spent a lot of time on it. And, just when people start complaining about something, they didn't see it or I didn't.
There was a
hear
lot of them
about
on sale too. I mean, some of them said, well, I don't care, but as long as but I want to
Are you
know.
talking about us having the bags available to them?
No, they're saying they didn't know that we passed an ordinance. They have never seen where we passed an ordinance that requires it. They said, well, some of them said, we'll do it, but we haven't seen what what's telling us to do it, because they got lots of plastic bags left and they're getting tagged.
Yeah, we don't want plastic bags because
Right.
they're not biodegradable.
Right.
You know, and actually, the other ones are cheaper, if you look at it. We just talked about this the other day, Jim and I and Roxanne, about the bags, but I think we should still go forward with it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, something's gotta be put out there so that people know, because the tags are the ones that, what they're seeing first.
You know, Roxanne, can we put it in the Phoenix Register? And can we put it in the, yeah, probably the Valley News? And they still won't see it. So, but that's okay. We will have done it a couple times.
That's all, that's all I
All
got.
right, appreciate it. Anything else?
Can I ask you any question?
Sure.
The curbing you're talking about up there,
Yep.
is it water coming from Pine Street down to that catch basin?
Yeah,
Now, if we change that curbing, will it narrow her driveway entrance?
no, you go for, the catch basin is almost, well, right at the end of her driveway. And the curbing is like this high, all the rest of the way back to almost the first tree, between the sidewalk and the road toward Pine Street.
Yeah,
And that's where you can see the curbing is up there about this high, and it drops right down to about like this, where it's been dug out. And the patch for the blacktopping, where they dug to put the piping in, is right there, matches the curb, where the curb is cut. But they said that anything they put in, took out, they put back in.
okay.
And I can't believe they would, if you're gonna put a curb back in, you're not gonna put something,
Six inches
you're
forward.
gonna put it up equal with the rest of it. So it's allowing the water to go right across the lawn instead of down across into the catch basin.
That's no good.
No, it's a brand new catch basin and it's not catching anything.
Yeah, that's not. Okay, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. Chief?
I really don't have any consent.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, just got a couple things here, pertaining to the DPW first. Just want to report that all of our trucks are all equipment's ready for when the snow flies, with the exception of the big truck. We need 1 day to get that all set up, so by the end of the week, we should have all our equipment ready for when the snow comes. And I have to talk about our salt issue. Last year, the DPW used 400 tons of salt. We have 100 ton left over from last year. And last year, the village budgeted $11,000 worth of salt. We spent close to $21,000 between the budget and moving stuff around. This current year's budget, we've used $8,922 of the $11,000. So I'd like to ask the board to make a motion to move some money around in the budget so we can order some salt so that we will be prepared.
Let me ask you this, Jim.
Yep.
We were already over, weren't we? For money?
I think Roxanne can help me explain because we have our winter season and then we have our budget year, if I'm not mistaken, Roxanne, is that correct? So, we're not really over, but we don't have enough to order another 100 ton.
100 ton.
We're at $8,900 of our $11,000 budget, so we have enough for 20 ton of salt.
And you know that last year was an exceptionally bad winter.
That's
Very
correct.
bad.
Yep.
Okay.
Last year we ordered salt on September 30th, and between September 30th until now, end of the season, we used 400 ton. So, I have all the budget line items here. I'd like to see if we can move some money around. We want to move some money from the sidewalk program budget line item over to our snow removal salt line item. I give you all the specs. I just want to see if
I'm wondering how much money you're looking for.
$4,500.
$4,500.
Yeah, we have $4,500 in our sidewalk program that obviously will not be utilized this year because of the season.
That's what's left right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if we move that over, we can, you know, that $42.92 a ton, we can get another 100 ton to get us going until we talk about our budget next week.
And can we get that salt as soon as possible?
Yeah, we have 100 ton right now.
Okay, so we're good.
We're good, but we don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I just wanna be prepared.
How does the board feel about it? It's $4,500. We had a hell of a winter last year.
I think we're gonna get one again this year
I do
too.
too. How about you guys?
Yeah, that's available in there
Yeah.
because we did, at the last meeting, or the meeting before, I put the hold on that sidewalk program.
Sure.
So we do have that money and it's not gonna be,
It's not gonna be
not gonna be
used
used,
this
so
year.
I'm in favor of it.
I'm in
make a
favor of
motion
it.
to go ahead with it.
So you make the motion, you'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
You can go ahead.
Okay,
How's that?
that sounds great, thank you. And the last thing I'll just report on is the current situation with the bathhouse. You notice down there that the excavation has been started. The electrical will be bored tomorrow underneath the pavilion. The last thing we're gonna do is rip off State Street, because that's not an easy task. We gotta get it up. Gotta go through the concrete and the railroad tracks and all that stuff, and get it filled back in as quick as possible. But we're on track for that bathhouse to be, we're gonna probably start laying block next week. We'll start to see that thing. And, Steve, were you gonna talk about that project for the Glenn Miller out of Rochester, or do we not need to talk about that?
The summer band show.
Wow.
No, I spoke to him, there's a gentleman, his name is Glenn Miller, the name of the company is,
Robert Miller.
Robert Miller Construction. Jim, what's the location of the parcel? I don't have I haven't seen his own change application.
Yeah, I got it right here, it's a 4.3 acre parcel. He says on Colony Street, I don't have an address, but it's, right behind Mr. Moyer's house, behind David Street, on the right-hand side before you get to the middle school.
They said this, yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke to him yesterday, and, it was originally, you know, in the past, with his own change application, he asked the applicant to come before the board, and, you know, there was a little, I don't know if you remember the issue we went through with the fellow who bought the house, or the building, and he was gonna, you know, he told us greenery and everything, then nothing happened. And yeah, so, you know, there's a restrictive covenant, that was entered into connection with that, so what he's looking for is a zone change to commercial, which we only have one commercial district in the village, so what they said to him was, you know, my impression is that the board's gonna entertain that there's gonna be, based on everyone's review of the site, there may be some restrictions on what can be developed there, even though it's within the commercial district. So, he wasn't aware of whatever commercial uses, were in the district. I told him, send him a copy of that, and I would, you know, talk to him, and he should probably look to come to the next, or the following meeting, and talk about what he wants to do. He's actually at a lot for it. Nice guy, was a straight shooter. He said, I really don't know. They've owned the property for years. I don't know what their roots are in the community here, but he said they've owned it for years and years and years. And they just haven't been able to do anything with it, you know, residentially there. So, he, you know, he's looking for something, but doesn't know what, and it's going to be sort of a challenge for the board, you know, because we grant his own change, which any applicant's entitled to ask for, to get the wide open, you know, menu of uses basically. But in the past, you know, the one I just mentioned aside, I think there's another one where they were going to put apartments in. That never happened either. I think the board granted his own change there too, but you know, they ran into, you know, economic issues. So I'm going to tell him to come before the board and send him those, but I told him already we started giving some thought to, you know, what we would not propose there. The board wants to necessarily see, you know, another convenience store. It's fairly near the school, it's the, you know, back entrance to the school, so there's some safety issues involved. But, you know, he's gonna come in and present to the board.
Is that the former Dunlap gas station?
No, I think it's across the tracks, that went behind Visco's off of Spring Street, the pine forest there.
He said
Just across the tracks on the right.
He said that, yeah, he did say the first thing they would do, because you can't really see the parcel, is they would clear and rub it. And I said, well, you know, is anything to dump back there? And he goes, well, who knows? And I said, well, you know, that's a positive, I guess, but if there's a lot of mature trees back there, and they're gonna sort of clear cut it, maybe it isn't, I don't know. So,
That's that
Yeah.
section that runs from Longley Street over to where Visco's property on Spring Street used to be.
I mean, he was a straight shooter, you know,
Track.
Yeah.
so, you know, I said, you know, if you're not gonna, the first step should be coming before the board, just talking about what you wanna do, and then you can sort of throw some ideas around, that kind of thing. And, so I told him next meeting, after, because I didn't know where, what we had on the agenda that type of thing.
Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, after tonight, I think we'll have an idea of what's gonna be on the next agenda, so, I mean, you know, I can tell him, take your pick, and let him, you know, decide on.
Steve, did you have anything regarding the engineering services contract
Well,
from your memo?
Yeah, there was a misunderstanding on my part. I thought some contracts still had to be approved. I spoke to Doug Miller tonight, and he said he thinks everything actually has been approved. It just hasn't been signed. The only concern is some of those are going to be reimbursed through the various grants. So we've got to have effective dates that, you know, that go back. A few of them, he started within, I want to say, 2 days of when our last, you know, engineer was terminated, and some of that work relates to that. So here's what I told him: I said, get me the contracts that haven't been signed, and I'll speak to the mayor and take a look at them. We'll go through the dates and everything. So, okay. So I'm going to see you Thursday night, so maybe you'll bother you for 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. How about the town district's expansion proposal?
Well, I understand there was a discussion the other day, again from Doug Miller, and I talked to Jim, and Jim Hayes and I were in a meeting on a Friday night in the town, I want to say in 2009 or 2010, and the engineering firm was there, Berniak, I think they're out of, whatever.
Yeah.
And they were proposing this, and my recollection was it was a gigantic project. I think they petitioned a few times, and you know, it fell short by, you know, so many residents or whatever. So I understand the discussion about that, and the only thing that I had said to Doug and to Jim was, the question at that time was, you know, and especially in light of the fact that we have this project now that I don't think Oswego County is going to wait on, is, you know, what's the advantage to the village? Because my recollection was it's going to be, you know, a district. At the time we had, you know, obviously the wells, so there was an opportunity to, you know, to supply those districts. But if the board's going to go forward with talking about that again, because this is really the first I've heard about it since that meeting back then, but I understand they've been working on it for a while. If we're going to talk about it, then, you know, that's sort of the big picture is, you know, we know what our issues are here, especially the infrastructure. And if out of all that, something good can happen, you know, financially for the village, so we're not taking the hit like, you know, we think we're going to be, you know, regardless of what grants we get, then it's a good thing. But I mean, it's just a thing to look at, so I just wanted to mention that.
Good. Okay. One thing I'm reading on the memorandum that you had put out,
Yeah.
it has to do with executive session and personnel potential litigation relative to water issues.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm getting excited about that, but it almost sounds like you have something to say to us about.
No, what it has to do with is you know, we gotta sit down and discuss, the past engineering services, the outstanding invoices, the invoices that have been paid, that we don't have the work product from.
Okay.
One component of which is very important right now, because that hydraulic study that Doug Miller is ready to go with, DEC wants done, we want it done for a long time, involved in flow metering.
Right.
Dunn and Scromo did some of that. The village paid a pretty good chunk of money for that, but we don't have the documentation. So somehow we've got to sort all this out, and it's hanging out there, and I think it's something we have to have a discussion about and figure out, you know, how to go forward with this.
Theoretically, how long do you think it would take to put together?
Well,
I mean, 2 months, 3 months, I mean.
honestly,
Yeah.
between the contracts, the invoices that are unpaid, the invoices that were paid, it's a maze.
Yeah.
And my suggestion was to, I just went through this in another municipality, and it really is to have a forensic auditor look at everything, put the puzzle together, and say, here's what you paid for, here's what you should have, here's what you don't have, and put it in an organized fashion. The only sort of side issue would be, I think this hydraulic study part of it is something that we may want to address first before we do the rest of it, because that's something, it's a year-long process, and it'd be a shame to have Doug Miller do something that was already done. You gotta get all 4 seasons, and it's holding up Trustee on the grant side right now. We had a conference with her last week, conference call, and it's very clear she can't proceed without that part of it, because the engineering study she had is just a preliminary engineering study. They are not going to close on EFC money, road development, or anything without the final plans and specs. We need to complete the hydraulic study to do that. So we're starting anew, it's a year off. If we can get some of this information, nobody's ever seen it. I think, I don't know. I asked Doug, it's apparently just a jumble of numbers, right? And it's collected, electronically, downloaded. We don't have it. We did pay quite a bit for it.
Yeah.
It stopped. He stopped it. There's a letter from the engineer, former engineer, to the board indicating he was going to stop the flow metering when our capital project started. I want to say late last fall, when Barbara first came out with me. Or maybe it was a pickup in the spring again. I don't know.
He billed us from June of 2013 till May of 2014.
For flow metering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have the engineering contracts or the scope of work, they end up billing you. They don't have the detail, an area of detail, like in our bill, we have an area of detail.
Right.
Engineers, his bill isn't that much different than a lot of engineers. Miller does do it differently, but I've seen other engineering firms, and they'll just bill for a percentage of the scope of work. But there is some reference there to what was done, and there are some letters. I've been going through a lot of things, so I don't know how many seasons of flow metering was done, but for every 3-month period we can recover, it's going to save us. It's going to chop off that year, I think. So, but it's I've sort of discussed it, but I wanted to. I spoke to forensic auditor already. I have not discussed any scope of work, so I have no idea price-wise, but this is not something that I think internally we're going to be able to figure out, because it's too many grants involved, which all require separate contracts. There's the invoices with different scopes of work. Some are sort of confusing as to what contract it matched up with. Describes the work in the caption, but there's a lot of documentation we don't have. I have spoken to Jim Hayes. He's never seen it either, because that was the first thing I. One of the responses I gave out to the board meeting, I said, look, I've been at every, I think I've missed 5 meetings in 10 years, and I said, the board has gotten 1 or 2 or 3 pages, usually concept type of things. We wouldn't be handed a pile of numbers that make no sense to us. So, you know, it's around somewhere. You know, maybe it's being held ransom, I don't know. You know, but you know, he has outstanding invoices. We have outstanding work. We've got to reconcile it somehow.
Steve, can we talk about the surface water treatment rule
Yes.
a little bit? See what we need to do there?
Yes, that, can I see your copy?
Sure.
This actually synopsizes our deal with the county of Oswego. Doug Miller went through the dates at the last board meeting. This is basically, it's you know, somewhat similar to a consent order, and it's got milestones in it for completion of the work. The original milestones, and they're attached to an exhibit. Those milestones originally were sort of pulled out of their hat by me in speaking to the county attorney's office, and Doug had some concern with a few of them initially. Following the last board meeting, he met with the Oswego County Health Department. We've now touched base. There's language in the agreement that provides for extensions basically for good cause. One of which is on these various milestones, if we have submitted plans and it's taking a third party forever to review the plans, we're not going to go into default. It's an automatic extension for whatever the time period is, past 2 weeks. And I think that's very fair, because I don't see, you know, DEC or anyone reviewing plans in 2 weeks. You know, so yeah, so this basically synopsizes the deal that we've been discussing, and it was approved in concept at the last meeting, but because he was meeting the next day with them, the actual writing wasn't finalized. So I've reviewed this numerous times. I've gone back and forth. They said the original dates were some conservative ballparks I picked. So Doug's good with everything. Tim, who works with him, is good with everything. And the extension provisions I'm talking about are in paragraphs 4 and 5. The village shall be delayed or prevented from performance of any obligation. These are known as force majeure provisions, and there's a variety of things that could happen that could delay. And then below that, extensions may be granted as warranted by the county on a case-by-case basis on our written trust. In other words, they want to know ahead of time that we're not going to meet a milestone rather than after the fact. So I think it's fair. It has already been approved at the county, so it's just a matter of the board approving it, mayor executing it, and we're all set. If the board could make just a motion to approve the surface water treatment rule compliance agreement in the form presented, and authorize the mayor to execute it, that would do it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, go ahead, Patsy. I'll third it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good.
And Mayor, if you could be kind enough to, everything has been nice and smooth lately,
Yep.
and I think it says a lot for, the village board members, we've been sort of timely and stepping on, meeting these preliminary milestones. Doug Miller, I think, has done a great job. There's just a level of confidence now. They were frustrated with failing to meet our prior milestones with the engineering studies we were doing. One of them was, the original one was 10 months late. So that sort of started things. If you recall, we had several conversations here where we were advised that Mr. Hager was finding everything in going so smoothly, and the next day we got a lot, you know?
Yeah,
So,
right.
so I think we're in good shape.
I will sign this at home.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You're all set then, Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Well,
I'm sorry. Since we've now talked about it, can I speak to the auditor, give her an idea of what we're talking about, get a price, so I can come back to the board? I think,
once we get the price, that's what we're concerned with.
I've been sitting on the fence about this, but
Uh-huh.
I think we have to move, because it's sitting in limbo, and, you know, I'm sure Greg's kind of, position he wants to set forward, but, maybe it ends up in discussion, but first we gotta get our arms around
Around it and know
what
what
we have and don't have, so we can articulate that.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and just get the conversation back to you.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
This agreement here, the surface water, the 6 paragraph down, with the 3 different options,
Yes,
should those other 2 options be eliminated from this agreement?
I'm sending, I told her, and I'm sending her a separate memo indicating, confirming that we elected the approved water system option. You know, their options are different than the, I think option E might have been option something else in the report, so, but I let her know, so I think, we'll just send a memo confirming that this is what we're doing.
Okay, not the other,
Yeah.
option B and D.
Right. It does go on to say, one of the milestones was to tell them what our election was. That was October. Yeah.
I just want to clear that up, those other 2 options in there, in case there's some confusion.
So you're okay then?
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
All right. I had skipped myself earlier this evening, with comments from the mayor. And, I do have a letter from, Judy Craigmire in the United Methodist Church and their dinner in recognition for Bruce and Lenora Schusert. I know who they are, but I just don't know how to mention their name.
Tony.
Yes.
Schukert.
Pardon me?
Schukert.
Okay, well, that's who it is then. I appreciate it. So, I will be going to a supper, for that group of people down there, later on this month. And I just wanted to mention that to you all. So, the other thing we have is the, abstract for payment, okay? Has everyone had an opportunity to read the abstract for payment? Number 17, 11/4/14, in the amount of $105,000, okay, $964.31. Then we have old business, regular meeting minutes, October.
Do the abstract. I make a motion,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I make a motion, we pay the abstract.
Okay, anyone want a second?
17.
Second.
Okay, everyone else? Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Those are the meeting minutes. And, this would be, October 21st, 2014, the meeting minutes. Okay, that was the last meeting. Any questions or concerns regarding that meeting? Okay, then I'll make a motion. Someone like to second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make a comment at the podium? If you would, yep, just come and raise your hand, and make your comment, and we'll put it down.
Because it was right on the front page.
Yeah, I think it was on Syracuse.com.
Yeah, they had a picture of them in high school, so cute, and
It was
a more
cute.
recent picture.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Any other comments?
I
Yep.
just have,
Hi, my name is Alexis Samantha. I live on James Street. I have a question, or a comment and a question. One comment is we were talking about our great students and everything, and I know that tomorrow is the induction at the high school for the, I want to say National Honor Society, or maybe National Merit
I
Society.
think I heard something along.
But I know my niece is getting inducted, so I know it's tomorrow. I just don't know exactly when, but I know I'm going. So I just want to let everybody else know about that. And I just had a question. If we're talking about, I know we said that everything's okay with the Department of Health, and they're granting extensions based on our plan that we submitted, but we're having problems. I know that we are getting grants, and that's great, but that we're having some problems and things are being held up, or the engineer might be held up, or grants might be held up. But they're okay with that when they're granting extensions?
No, the agreement has milestones in it.
Okay.
The extension provision really has nothing to do with
They're
what I
okay
was
with
talking
all,
about
I know
initially.
you said they're okay with the dates we gave them and stuff, and the dates we talked at the meeting, or that we gave at the meeting last time were
Yeah, this is,
like late 2015 or March
Yeah,
of
those
2016.
are-
Are those the dates that are still,
yes, those are,
we're looking
yeah,
at?
yeah. And
Okay.
the other issues is, an internal problem that we're gonna have to deal with,
But those deadline dates that we proposed, or that you proposed in that, are still what you're still looking at?
Yeah, just real quick, it's the, we're gonna utilize the New York State Drinking Water, revolving
Right.
fund, which we are gonna try and do. We're gonna submit an application on it before November 24th, which
Okay.
is not even, and then bid packages, January 31st, 2015. And then simultaneously submit a bid package to the drinking water, revolving fund. So, but the bottom line was March 2nd,
I didn't know when you
2016.
were talking about those engineer problems, if that was that water problem, or I know we have another water, the sewage thing, which is different, so I didn't know.
Oh, no.
When you talked about the flow metering and possible
Yeah,
double work or,
it does relate to the sewer system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay, that's all I wanted to clear up, because when you talked about holding up some work or holding up other grant, the woman that works on the grants, and I was like, if you're talking about holding up time, is that gonna affect our other deadlines?
Oh,
So I
Christie,
just wanna
yeah.
make sure. that-
No, she can do simultaneous things at the same time.
Right, but if that was
Yeah.
another issue, I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that those dates that you had mentioned at the last meeting were still in place. So, okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Hello, I think I'm supposed to say my name, Mike Wines, 36th Street. I actually have some information on the side, the curb piece that I can share either now or a little bit later, because I actually saw them pouring the curb.
Okay.
So I can more than willing to share the info I have from standing out there with my head cocked, wondering what they were doing after the fact. The only real question I have is, I think you were actually about to hand a sheet of paper for the documentation for tonight. And
Yeah, I was gonna start with the dates here.
one of the things I was wondering is if there was a way for us to, as a community, to get a kind of good faith effort copy of some of the documents that you guys referenced during the meetings. Also, just so we have an idea beyond what invoice number 17 is. I'm sure everything is awesome, but I have no idea what invoice number 17 is.
Was there one you were in particular looking for?
Mostly just looking for it going forward in the future so I can follow along and not do that cock-headed.
Mike, usually, if it's something that's prepared ahead of time, proposed local law, that's available. Actually, there are amendments to state law a couple of years ago, that require that, but we did that anyway, we used to do that anyway. Some of the things are kind of last minute.
Yeah.
Like this tonight, we were discussing as late as this afternoon. I was discussing with the county attorney because I wanted to make sure that our engineer, so this will be available, but
And it would personally help me because I like going back. I like numbers. I like seeing stuff.
The other thing too is, you asked about rules of procedure at the next meeting.
Yes.
If you give me your email address, I'll send you a copy of what I found, and you'll probably read it and say, one look over there. It's a little onerous, but it gives you an idea of, you know, the kind of.
The stuff I found is definitely numbers.
Yeah.
I'll give that to you after the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Ma'am?
Did you get that shut off?
Hello, my name is Darlene Louise, and I'm the owner of 26 Church Street, which has the water problem. So I just was trying to clarify what's going to happen now that it's presented. Jim is going to review it, is that correct?
Yes, I will. I've not yet done something in this type of a situation. I need a little bit of help trying to figure out how much water, dates and parameters, but yes, I am gonna review it and see what we can do to credit you back the water that was due to the leak.
Okay, well, I was just wondering, because, the bills just came out, so they're due, and I don't want to be late in payment, so I just didn't know how, will you be sending me a letter with
I'm probably
your
gonna contact
findings?
you and just, communicate with you. I'm not so worried about you being late, you got some time. I just wanna get all my facts together and make sure I make an intelligent, reading of what happened. So I wouldn't worry about being late.
Okay, all right, well, that's my other question is, because I left copies of everything, but I just wasn't sure what the next step was doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Before you leave though, I talked a little bit about this, with one of the board members. You actually, I thought you were very reasonable. You had some documents that represented what your average charges are, and you just want to sort of be restored to that and reconcile that way. And I thought that was very reasonable. That's fine. Unfortunately, once we start paying for water and we have these situations, it's going to be a lot more difficult for the board to do that because, we're going to be out of pocket, whereas now, comes from a well. But no, I thought that was very reasonable.
Okay, well, thank you.
You'll hear from Jim. Sure.
My name is Ann Felix. I live at 503 Main Street. I guess my question is for the board, maybe something for you guys to look into. Is you were commenting about the leave situation, how you passed that they have to all be in paper bags, which I've always done because I think that it's better for the environment. That's besides the point. But has the board ever thought about getting on social media? People don't read the paper anymore. And I think it would be a good idea for them to possibly get on social media, not just for that kind of information, but for, I can't always get here every week. I have kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't get a babysitter. It might be something for us as citizens to be able to ask you guys questions.
We've started it.
You did start it?
Wonderful.
Awesome. That's just the question I have for you guys to look into, because that is how everybody is going. I mean, my parents used to buy the Phoenix Register when I was a kid. The last time I bought it, I bought tennis shoes on one day because my daughter was in it. But other than that, I don't buy it.
Well, I think it's very innovative to do that, because you can see everything. I think we have a great page, that can be utilized. I send it to my family in Rochester and everywhere.
The Village of Phoenix website?
Yeah.
I guess I'm looking more at.
No, you have started a Facebook.
You have, that's what I was looking at, yes. Because I personally look at the Village website, but I know a lot of people my age, it's not anything of interest to them.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at something like the Facebook for that, Twitter, or something like that people my age will get, because that's the families that are coming into the village nowadays. And then the other things, if we could put on there, because there are a lot of older people that live in the village that don't do social media. So if we can just emphasize to them the importance of letting their neighbors know that are elderly, to get the words out to them, because they're not looking at those sites.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's it.
Very good. Thank you for bringing that forward. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Anything from the board? The only other thing I wanted to, before we close the meeting, is Chief Nerver and Sergeant, I need to know when your information is going to be ready for the boat. And I need to know all the parameters, like we need a can to put gas in, we need flares, we need this. It's just something I need to build into the budget. So I'm going to need that. I've got time, but I just don't want you to forget it, because I know we talked about it a few weeks ago. But I really want to know everything about what's going to happen. Lights, whatever it might be, you know? Otherwise, I'm not going to build it in the budget.
We have a meeting with Jim and Roxanne on Thursday at 12:30 regarding, we've already put a lot of numbers together, we have those numbers for
So she's taking care of it, Roxanne's taking care of it?
No, budgetary numbers. And Jim's still working with Trustee.
Okay.
And she hasn't gotten back to us yet, she's still working on her end.
Okay, when you have something done, just send me an email or something, so I know that you're working on it, because I don't want to lose it, you know? And I want to make sure it's built into our budget, you know? And it's not a lot of money. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of money, as I recall. So we need to know that, and the board would, of course, you know, approve it when we sit their budget. So, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Before you close the meeting,
Yeah.
I'll just address
Sure.
one of them is, at the last meeting, there was a discussion on the town hall, and I apologize, I'll just tell you out of mine, but that, you know, way back when we talked about lemon law and that kind of thing, none of that applies, but from what I understand, it's not just our town, it's epidemic. So, you know, it's crazy. We should, and my responsibility, and I actually think he sent me some document, I said about a year ago, and I asked him, so I got to get together with you, but we should take a stab at it. It's crazy. Because it's been since almost day one, right?
Yeah.
Pretty soon after but we have a long history of documenting.
Yeah, it was pre-us, but
Yeah.
we're counting right around 10,000 miles.
Yeah, we have a steady history of documented visits to the dealer. So it's not like something that just cropped up. It's been since day one.
Not at all.
And then the second thing was, before during the meeting, we just have a short executive session right in here, personal matter.
No, I have an executive session.
Oh, okay.
It's on my agenda.
Can we add a separate item on the executive session, personnel?
Yep.
Myself?
Yeah, sure.
I want to split the board.
Okay.
Board members.
No, that's what we're going for next.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone all set? Any other questions or concerns? Okay, then I'll make a motion to end the general session and go into executive session. If someone would like to second it?